Volgende is een nieuwe liedje, zijn naam is Frontier. Moet ek jou smeek om hier te bly, Marina? Dink jy regtig ek wil jou verlaat?
My name is VryeAand and I'll be the MC or host for tonight. On behalf of the SRC, Campaign X and VryeAand, we'd like to thank you for coming out tonight. As you all know, the municipal elections are coming up next month, and in an effort to encourage students not only to vote, but to make an informed decision when they cast their vote, VryeAand, along with the SRC, has also decided to host these range of events or debates. The topic for tonight is public transport and also parking. Firstly, we're going to give each speaker a minute to introduce themselves to the audience. Then we're going to have a guest speaker speak for a few minutes, and then myself as the MC will pose a question to all the speakers, and they'll all get a chance to reply. Then you'll get 10 minutes, a 10-minute break, and then the fun part starts. So firstly, we have Lisa Rothkegel.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lisa Rothkegel, and I'm here to represent the Student Voice Party. Our main aim is to create a voice for students in the Municipal Council of Stellenbosch. We also believe that we are more accessible to students, that students can come to us and talk to us, and we can lift these issues. It cannot be that assumptions are what represent these students. There needs to be a voice, and we are willing to be that voice.
Goeienaand, ja, my naam is David Botha. Ek stem saam met alles wat sy gesê het. Dit is ongelooflik. Dit is jammer sy het nie tevore met my kon gesels nie. Ons in die DA besef baie duidelik dat ons moet meer aandag gee aan studentesake.
Nou eers.
Dis 17 jaar.
Excuse me, ma'am. Thank you, the speakers are speaking. I'd now like to...
Hi, goeienaand. My naam is, soos ek genoem het, Jannie Kirsten. Ek verteenwoordig die Kaapse Partye. In die jare wat ek hier was, het ek van die begin af het ek besef wat se probleem Stellenbosch studente het om deur te breek tot op die dorpsvlak. Ons hele idee is om die gemeenskap ook betrokke te kry by die oplos van hierdie probleme. Want die gemeenskap is toch die mense wat sit met die probleme. Hulle is die mense wat kennis het van die probleme. Hulle is die mense wat weet heel waarskynlik om die probleme op te los.
Thank you, Annie. Volgende het ons een gastspreker van die SR, Esther McFarlane. Sy is die SR lid vir student well-being. Thank you, Esther. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. As you just said, my name is Esther McFarlane. Die probleem is nie dat daar te min parkering is nie. Die probleem is dat daar te veel karre is. En ek dink mense verwar partykeer die probleem. Ons kan nie vir almal parkeerplekke bou nie, want dan gaan ons begin koshuise afslaan vir parkeerplekke. Daar is net te veel karre. Ja, ek dink as mens kyk na die kwessie, ek wil net eintlik sê vir julle, as julle nou verder praat daaroor, mens kan nie hamer op daar moet meer parkeerplekke wees. Mens moet kyk na die totale verbetering van mobiliteit. En dit sluit in eerstens karre, dit sluit in publieke vervoer, dit sluit in fietsry en stap en saamry in plaas van alleen ry. En op hierdie stadium is daar regtig 'n tekort aan aandag aan hierdie kwessies. Ja, so ek dink dit is die kwessie wat ons vanaand op hande het. Dankie.
This was brought up by Adams Murray. Thank you, Adams. You can get your shot. Basically, in the 1970s, the University of Stellenbosch didn't allow first years who lived in residences, you can vouch for this, Mr. Botha, to have cars on campus. Currently, you can see big universities in the UK like Oxford and Cambridge still have a similar procedure. Do you think that something like that is a viable solution on campus? Ms. Rothkegel, and we'll just move across.
Thank you, Ernst, for the question. I don't know if you've been in a residence or not, but I know a lot of the residences actually write a letter to the first years before they arrive, and they say you're not allowed to bring a car. However, if they bring a car, we're actually sitting with a problem. So having actually law, university law, that might be feasible, yes, you can do that, but then you're also taking away freedoms. You have to also look at specific individual cases. Are there going to be exceptions? What about disabled students with cars, etc.? You have to look at a lot of the issues. But yes, I think definitely it is a possibility, but is that really the solution to the problem?
Thank you, Ms. Rothkegel. Mr. Borta?
I just wish to correct you that there was a time when no student who had not completed 3 years of successful studies were allowed to have a car. Some people would agree to that. Ag man, jy parkeer net jou kar by jou auntie man, en as jy die kar nodig het, dan stap jy so toe en dan ry jy weg. Jy het te kry oplossing vir al sulke probleempjes. Personally, I think it would probably be fought in the court. Students, parents have lots of resources for advocates and attorneys. So I don't think it's a viable situation. I think it's unconstitutional. So students and residents must decide on some form of limitation of their personal freedom. I get as angry with certain parking problems on campus as with mothers with their 4x4s delivering kids 2 blocks from school by car. That is as bad a problem in town. So you must look at the whole of town. As I've said, the most important thing I want to say tonight is that we need to look at this problem. It's not a simple problem, and don't accuse this party or that party. We all have to look at it together, and people have been looking at it for a number of years, but now it's not an issue anymore, it's now a crisis. It has to be dealt with. An issue you can manage, but it's now become a crisis, and now you have to deal with this crisis. And the first thing is to acknowledge that there is a crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Borta. Mr. Christens?
Suid-Afrika en hierdie campus is definitief 'n unieke situasie rondom dit. Dit was dalk in die 1970s 'n moontlike oplossing. Dit het dalk in daai tyd gewerk en dit werk dalk in Oxford en in ander dele van die wêreld ook. Maar op die oomblik, een van die hoofprobleme wat studente het wat vervoer en parkering en so betref, is hulle veiligheid. Baie van die studente al gebruik hulle die kar die hele week of die hele dag lank glad nie. Van die studente gebruik hulle kar net in die aand om SS toe te ry of om dorp toe te ry, want het is te onveilig om te stap of selfs om met 'n fiets te ry. So daai oplossing kan dalk het dalk gewerk in die 70s en dit het dalk gewerk in Oxford en dit het dalk op ander plekke in die wêreld gewerk, maar hierso sit ons met 'n unieke situasie. En tot al die partye wat betrokke is, saamgesit in die situasie bespreek het om uit te vind wat eintlik gedoen moet word om die situasie op te los. Kan mens nie sommer net sulke eenvoudige oplossings in die lug gooi en hoop dit gaan werk nie. Daar's soveel fasette wat betrokke is. Maar definitief daar is 'n veiligheidsissue wat baie van die studente aanspoor om 'n vervoermiddel op kampus te hê, anders as 'n fiets of 'n skateboard selfs of dinge soos dit. Hulle moet rondry want dit is te onveilig om enige ander vervoermiddel te gebruik. En natuurlik met die afwesigheid van enige publieke vervoersisteem help dit ook nie die probleem aan nie. So ek voel daai oplossing kon dalk op 'n stadium gewerk het hierso, maar daai tyd is lankal verby. En ons moet nou begin kyk na nuwe werklike oplossings wat regtig na die probleem kyk. Dankie.
Thank you, Mr. President. It goes without saying that there's tension and a big divide between the student community in Stellenbosch and the residents that live in Stellenbosch. Should your party be voted into a specific ward, how would you deal with the tension between these two groups? I'd like to start with you, sir.
Alright, well, I for one feel that it is absurd that there's a divide, because the students are just as much part of this community as any other resident here. Even though they're only here temporarily, some of them for a couple of months, some of them for 6, 7, 8 years, they're definitely part of the community. I mean, as someone mentioned, they make up 1/5 of the population of the town. And it is our opinion that if you don't listen to their voice in the first place, and if you don't realize that or realize them their part in this community, then you're going to have problems, as is currently the case. So I think obviously it's absolutely vital that the community not only is seen as two different parts, as the students and the rest of the residents, but is seen as one whole community that consists maybe of these two different bodies. And there's more than two different groups. I mean, you've got the outlying suburbs, you've got temporary workers that come from out of town into Stellenbosch every day to work. And even though they're only here for a couple of hours every day, they're part of this community. They're part of the problems and the solutions of this community. So I definitely feel that it is absurd that any municipality council or whoever is involved here would see them as different parts, as different communities, because that clearly isn't the case. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kirstens. Ms. Rothkegel.
Thank you for the question, Jahan. I think it's important to acknowledge that there are different dynamics in different spheres. However, I do believe that, you have to bridge that, that lack of communication. So, as SSP, we are willing to speak to all the parties. We are willing to represent the students' voice within those different spheres. So, we're really open to that.
Thank you, Ms. Rothkegel. Meneer Botha.
Ek dink 'n mens moet idealis wees, maar 'n mens moet ook 'n realist wees. Enige groep in 'n dorp wat 'n ander lewenspatroon het as 'n ander groep, gaan probleme veroorsaak. Die heel ryk mense op Stellenbosch woon in hulle eie areas. Ek gaan nie name noem. Die plakkersgemeenskap van Kayamandi is 'n totale ander gemeenskap as die gemeenskap in Kayamandi wat 50 jaar daar woon. Waarom sê ek dat ek het navorsing daar gedoen? Die ou inwoners van Kayamandi praat van die inkommers, en ek dink hulle is dikwels baie meer antagonisties teenoor die plakkers inkommers as wat die Stellenbosch plaaslike gemeenskap is teenoor die studente. So ek dink in die plakkers is meer as die studente. So ek dink studente moet hulle self sien as een van die baie groepe op Stellenbosch. Studente moet ook besef dat hulle bioritmes en hulle lewenspatroon is anders as normale mense. Ek het nou 2 studente wat langs my woon, en hulle wil 12 uur in die aand begin hartmusiek maak tot 4 uur die môre. En dan ander oggende wanneer ek wil werk tussen 9 uur en 5 uur, dan speel hulle ook harde musiek. So dis wat eintlik gebeur het op Stellenbosch, is dat Stellenbosch is vol. Mense, julle kan nie julle self sien as studente net Stellenbosch is vol. Ons papegaaiskop is vol plakkers. Die wingerde is vol ryk mense wat wil daar kom bou. Die kampus is propvol. Die woonbuurte het nou al te veel studente wat in studentehuise woon. Die rioolplaas is vol. Die vullishoop is vol. Weet julle dit? Die parkering is vol, die strate is vol. Ons sit met al wat nie vol is nie, is die damme. So, en wat nou gebeur het, is dat wanneer 2 groepe wat verskillende sosiale patrone het, te na aan mekaar begin beweeg, dan begin daar wrywing plaasvind. Studente wil nie slaap op die tyd wanneer gewone mense wil slaap nie. En ek wil net op dit sê dat die studentestemparty sal in sy wijk nie net studente kan verteenwoordig as hulle raadslede word nie. Hulle is raadslede vir alle inwoners van daai gebied. Wat my betref, en dit is iets wat hulle moet besef en volhoubaar moet besef vir die volgende 5 jaar. Maar ek is 'n skakelpraktisyn, en ek dink as 'n mens bereid is om die studente langs jou en die ou mense langs jou in ag te neem, en ook om die wette van die land te gehoorsaam, sal dit beter gaan met ons almal, maar ons moet daaroor 'n diskussie voer oor wat sê die wet oor hoe die lewe gereguleer moet word. Dankie.
Dankie, meneer Botha. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the debate for this evening. Please enjoy the rest of your evening.
Lekker! Dat is een foto van zo'n video. Ja, dat vond je